So, Mr. Hunt, you've described yourself as an outsider already in the leadership race. How are you now planning to convince your party members that you're the right person for this job?
Well, I'm going to go to every corner of the country and I'm going to be making the argument that we have got perhaps the most important decision that Conservative Party members have ever made, which is which Prime Minister we trust to get us out of the most serious constitutional crisis that we've had in my political lifetimes. And Conservative Party members are very wise and thoughtful people, and I'm very confident when I make that argument, they will reflect on it and decide that I'm the right person.
And I've heard you say a number of times that the UK needs a Prime Minister that the EU will talk to and negotiate with. Why do you think you're the person that can do that rather than Boris Johnson?
Well, I've been Foreign Secretary for the last year. I've been talking to European governments. I know many of the key figures. I don't pretend this is going to be easy, but I have those relationships, and I also have a background as an entrepreneur. I'd actually be the first Prime Minister who's been an entrepreneur, so negotiation is in my DNA.
And are you suggesting
we're just
that
on two each, aren't we?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much for taking questions. Votes from yesterday, 160 for Johnson, 77 for yourself and 75 for Gove. What is your pitch from turning Gove voters to yourself?
Well, I think that Michael and I have very similar approaches to resolving the Brexit issue. And really, it was just a choice about different personalities, different skill sets. Michael is an absolutely outstanding colleague in the Cabinet. But I think the people who voted for Michael did take the same view as I take, which is that the way we're going to get through this crisis, because of the risk of Parliament blocking a no-deal Brexit, is to find a deal that Parliament can actually approve.
And also, I'm interested, Charterhouse School in Godalming was your school. What did that teach you for the big job, so to speak?
Well done for asking a question I haven't yet been asked. Look, I had a wonderful education and many happy days at all the schools that I went with. But I've always felt troubled by the fact that many people did not have the same opportunities I had, the same education I had, and that's why one of my biggest priorities as Prime Minister would be to improve the standards of our state schools, and I would like us to be the Conservative government that abolishes illiteracy in a generation so that every single young person leaving the education system comes out with rigorous qualifications that mean they can get a decently paid job.
Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Really exciting.
We heard it from you first.
And, well, I mean, if you are Prime Minister, then, I mean, obviously, within this constituency, everyone would be hoping that you can do something for them. I don't know if there are any, what would be the pressing issues, do you think?
Well, you have to be careful not to over-favour your own constituency, but certainly for the people of Farnham, the transformation of the town centre is something that I will always prioritise whatever I do next in politics, because Farnham's the biggest town in my constituency, traffic's the biggest problem, and I just wouldn't want to be MP there for a long period of time without really have putting the heart and soul into trying to improve that issue.
And having worked as Health Secretary and being aware of cuts to adult social care, and also I think you also work with you as what would you be hoping to do about that? I mean, obviously, this is a cash strapped and it's really work for us to do.
Well, I've said I think the cuts to adult social care went too far. I saw myself as Health Secretary that we had too many people in our hospitals who should have been discharged into the local community, but there wasn't the capacity to do that. I negotiated a big extra funding settlement for the NHS when I was Health Secretary, and my next job was to do something similar for social care, but unfortunately I was moved on to another job before I could do that. But I do think it's really important that we are a society where every older person is treated with dignity and respect, and so that would be one of my important priorities.
If you read a lot of the commentary, the feeling is that Boris Johnson is the overwhelming favourite, that you're kind of almost there to make up the numbers, as it were. Is that the way you see it?
Not at all. But he is the overwhelming favourite. I am the outsider, and I'm going to win this by putting arguments to the British people that this is a moment where it's not in the end about personalities, it's about a Prime Minister who's going to make the right judgments for our country at a very perilous time. And I believe I am that person, and I believe I can win that argument.
And just to follow up on the idea of you being the local MP, you will also then be Prime Minister. Do you envisage holding constituency meetings to still meet people? How do you see that changing if you become Prime Minister?
Well, the great thing about our political system is that it doesn't matter if you're Prime Minister or not, you've still got to be elected to Parliament, you've still got to go and knock on people's doors. And I think that's a really good thing, because I find when I do surgeries I learn from people about the problems they're facing, problems in the adult social care system, problems with the NHS, problems with crime, whatever it is. So I think it keeps our politicians grounded to have to do that, and of course that would continue if I was Prime Minister.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.